Common Ground. It's August 11th, 2026. Welcome to yes2hellwith.com. Over the past 2 weeks, we have examined a simple question. If the Constitution limits government, what happens when government crosses the line? Judging from comments from many of you, we recognize the problem. If government can encroach upon a right or freedom today, while we must spend years and thousands of dollars seeking relief, what practical value does the right have when you need it most? A right without a timely and effective remedy can become practically meaningless. But the comments that you posed also have exposed another problem. We have difficulty talking to one another. I use the word citizen and someone says, I'm not a citizen, I'm one of the people. I speak of human nature and someone objects to that terminology. Before the thought is even completed, a word has triggered an assumption, and the assumption becomes an argument. That gets us nowhere. So ask the question, what do you mean? How are you using that word? What is the proposition you're asking me to consider? But before you even ask the question, perhaps consider that I'm seeking to establish a common argument, a common understanding of an element so that we can move forward together. We all bring prejudices and prejudgments into a conversation about words, government, law, and even each other. But if I substitute my meaning for yours before understanding what you are really saying, then I'm no longer listening to you. I'm arguing with myself. I'm seeking to establish a monologue. And there is also another distraction. Mention government exceeding its authority, and someone immediately says, government is a corporation. Someone else says it's all commerce. And then comes the UCC, maritime law, British control, legal fictions, birth certificates, etc., etc. Any number of theories are offered to explain government, but none of that is necessary to answer the question before us. Did government possess the authority to do what it did? And if not, what stops it? I'm not asking anyone to abandon what they believe, whether they're right or wrong. I'm asking them to distinguish between what they personally believe and what we collectively need to establish, because we are looking for something Americans of vastly different backgrounds can understand and hopefully accept. And perhaps it is this simple. Government has limited powers. The people possess rights and freedoms that government does not create. When government exceeds its lawful authority and encroaches upon those rights and freedoms, there must be an effective remedy. Can we agree upon that much? Because consider what happens when government acts against you tomorrow. It takes your property, it closes your business, freezes your money, takes your freedom. You object, and government says, you have a remedy, go to court. But how long? Years. How much? Perhaps a fortune. And what happens in the meantime? The government action continues. Justice years from now doesn't protect you today. So the issue isn't simply whether a remedy theoretically exists. The question is whether the remedy is available when the right or freedom requires protection. And that brings us to the practical objective of this conversation, the sheriff. If we expect an elected sheriff to protect the people of his county within the lawful authority of his office, we cannot require him to accept some theories over others. We cannot expect him to accept corporations, commerce, citizenship, maritime law, or anything else, nor should we. The message must be simpler than that. Government has boundaries, the people have rights and freedoms, and public officials possess delegated authority, not unlimited power. That message can belong to everyone, rich or poor, educated or uneducated, left or right, whatever words we use to describe ourselves. That is why we must learn to ask questions before rejecting another person's words or argument. Not because definitions don't matter, because they do, but because understanding must come before disagreement can be meaningful. And if a particular theory isn't necessary to establish the common principle, don't allow it to destroy the conversation. Free people are going to disagree. They should. But disagreement over secondary questions cannot prevent agreement upon the fundamental one. Because while we argue about terminology, theories, government continues to act. So reduce the issue to its essence. As I say, reduce it to the ridiculous. Did government cross the boundary of its lawful authority? If it did, where is the timely and effective remedy? And now we have a question that can be placed before an elected sheriff without requiring the sheriff or the people to subscribe to anyone's ideology. Sheriff, government has limits. When government crosses those limits and threatens the rights and freedoms of the people in your county, what can you lawfully do about it here and now? That is the conversation we need to have. Not about labels, theories, or who possesses the superior vocabulary. It's about a boundary, a remedy, and an elected official close enough to the people to be asked one simple question. When government crosses the line, who stands in the gap? If Americans can come together around that question, we have something we desperately need: common ground. And finally, some people say, this is all talk. Where's the action? Well, this is part of the action. Before people can act together, they have to understand what they're acting for and why. These videos are intended to build that understanding, to find the common ground that allows thousands and hopefully millions of Americans to speak with greater clarity and purpose. There is a method to this. The more people who understand the message, the stronger our ability to act together when government exceeds its lawful boundaries. And that action is already taking shape. Go to constitutionalcounty.org. The objective is to take these principles into our counties, engage our elected sheriffs, and begin restoring meaningful protection for the people where government is closest to them, county by county, sheriff by sheriff, because lasting national change doesn't necessarily have to begin in Washington, nor will it. It can begin and will begin where we live. And as always, may truth reign supreme.